Welcome to the Cook's Domain. Today I'm going to start my Indian series with Chicken Tikka Masala. Now it's not one of my favourite curries, I have to say. I think it's, for me, far too sweet and far too mild. But I know it's a very, very popular curry, and many in my family love it. So I've cooked it many times. But the other reason I'm doing it is because it seems to be the most misunderstood curry, I guess. I've seen lots of recipes, online and on YouTube, and I've noticed a very strange pattern with regard to it. All the Americans cook it wrong, so I'm guessing Chicken Tikka Masala wasn't taken there by someone who knows what it is. I'm guessing maybe the Indian chefs in the United States know that it happens here. They've seen what it is, and they've replicated something. I don't know. And then when I see the home chefs replicating it, it's none of the main ingredients are even in. So, which I find really strange. The other thing is that even some of the guys who cook it here, even when the ingredients are right, the method is completely wrong. And that way, what you're getting usually is a very wet, not very deep, overly tomato-y chicken tikka masala. I guess another reason for that is if you have a particular tolerance to spice, then the moment you go slightly over that tolerance, all you get is that shockwave, and then you can't seem to get beyond that shockwave. I mean, the best example I can imagine is that, I have family who eat chicken tikka masala, and I remember saying to them, "Oh, I don't like it, it's far too coconutty." And they were like, "Coconut? There's coconut in this?" Because the spice that's in it, even though for me is extremely mild, for them it was to the level of their tolerance, and they couldn't get beyond the spice and didn't even realize there's a lot of coconut in chicken tikka masala. And that's again another reason why I think a lot of the chicken tikka masalas that I've seen online don't seem to even add coconut. Now, I get that maybe when you eat it, you don't taste that it's there, but it's definitely adding to the overall dish. So when you cook it and you've had it and you go, well, yeah, this is sort of like, it's red, it's spicy, it's sort of like, but you're not getting the full-on experience because you're not adding the coconut. The other thing I've noticed, a major ingredient to chicken tikka masala is ground almonds. Again, the vast majority of recipes online don't seem to add it. Now, I've had chicken tikka masala in many restaurants, not because I've ordered it, but someone's ordered it in the group, and I've had a spoon out of it. And the Indian restaurants seem to agree as to what's in it. I've yet to eat a chicken tikka masala in any of the many restaurants I've had, up and down this country, that wasn't within a particular flavor profile. So I'm quite satisfied that this is what a chicken tikka masala is. Now, if you read the history on it, there is no history. It's myths and legends that some chef up in Glasgow had a complaint that his curry wasn't saucy enough, and he wasn't feeling well, and he was eating a bowl of tomato soup, and he just poured soup into a curry that he'd made, and voila, chicken tikka masala was born. Don't add soup. I mean, there is tomatoes in this recipe, but don't add tomato soup or ketchup. That's not how this is made. So I'm going to show you a recipe now to you guys to make an authentic British Indian chicken tikka masala. And I say British Indian because up until about 5 years ago, maybe a bit more, no one in India knew what a chicken tikka masala is. It is sold there now as foreign food. Maybe it was inspired by the Indian cuisine, but it didn't exist in India. It was invented in the UK, first eaten here in the UK. As to who and what and where, no one seems to know. So I'm going to give you a recipe that's going to be absolutely incredible and cover all those bases. Will it be exactly like the one from your local Indian restaurant? No, because every Indian restaurant has a slight uniqueness, a slight variation to the dish, but it will be as good. When you're eating it, you'll be, well, it isn't like my local, but I could imagine if I ordered from another Indian restaurant, this is what it might taste like. You're not going to be eating it and thinking, yeah, my neighbor made this, if you get what I'm saying. Now, Indian food, to cook it, is a little bit complex. No, not that it's complex but there are many stages involved. There's lots of things that we need to do. For that reason, I'm now going to cook a chicken tikka masala in the way that someone would have to cook it if you don't cook Indian food very often and you're making this as a one-off. Like, today I want to eat chicken tikka masala. So for the first part of the curry, and this is the most time-consuming part, we have to make our onion base. All curries, or virtually all curries, are thickened and their sauce consists of pureed onion. And to get to a pureed onion, we have to cook it down. Okay, so to make enough for 2-3 portions, you're going to need 1 large onion, about 1 inch of ginger, about the same amount in weight, but more, not less, if you're going to not get it right, garlic. Don't ever go less garlic, always the garlic a little bit more than the ginger, the same or more. 1 green chili, 1 very small carrot, as I have here, but half a carrot, say about 3.5 inches of carrot, and 1/4 of a green pepper. We're also going to need 3 tablespoons of our mixed powder. If you don't know what this is, you need to check out that video so you know how to make your own mixed powder. This is the foundation of pretty much anything we're going to cook with Indian food, because Indian cuisine pretty much uses the same spices as a whole, and then the different ratios of those spices create the different dishes, as well as a few extra things, like chicken tikka masala has coconut and almond in it, for example. Jalfrezi doesn't have that, but there is a base that is always the same. So go and see that video, make your own mixed powder. We're going to need 3 tablespoons of that. So what we want to do now is start toasting off our spices and getting all these veg into our saucepan. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is add some oil to the bottom of our pan, enough oil to cover the base. We want to get the heat up to a medium-high heat. So that's basically somewhere between medium and high. And now we want to add our 3 tablespoons of mixed powder. Mix them around. We're not going to leave them in here for too long because we don't want them to burn. As you can see, they're bubbling up. This is just to liven them up, wake them up, and we want to immediately go in with our onions. And the onions will help bring down the heat so nothing burns. And coat the onions in the oil and the spices. We want to add our peppers, get them all coated. We want to throw in our half a tomato chopped up into little pieces and keep stirring all the while. Remember, we don't want to burn the spices, so turn your heat down if you want, or take it off the heat sometimes, just so we don't burn anything and everything stays nice and delicious. We want to throw in our chopped chilies. We want to throw in our carrots and our chopped up ginger and garlic. Get that all in there, coated with the oil. Now you want to boil a kettle up of water. And you want to cover everything in water now. Turn the heat up to maximum. Once this starts to boil quite vigorously, we want to turn our heat all the way down to between low and medium, so a medium-low type heat, and put a lid on. That way we get to keep all the water in here. So it's been about 1.5 hours. Just going to have a quick look at this. Make sure everything's softening up nicely. The most important thing is the carrots. That cut through quite easily. So we're almost there. Now I can tell that the water level has come down clearly, and once we blend this it's going to be quite thick, so I'm just going to add a little bit more hot water to this. Okay, once we start blending, if it seems too thick, we'll add some more water. And I'll show you what the consistency should look like. Okay, let's look at the consistency. Yeah, it's pretty watery. That is perfect. I mean, you don't want it coating really the back of the spoon. You see, most of it falls off, and you've got a transparent layer on there, and that's perfect. What we can do now is taste test for salt, pepper. To warn you, this is quite bland, and it should be quite bland. Think of this as an Indian vegetable stock at most. So let's try that now. And it's going to need at least a couple of pinches of salt. I'm going to go for 3. This is the best time to do your salt and pepper because this is now where we want it to be. It's the right level of liquid. So salting at this point will give us the right profile. Now we need a little black pepper in there as well. Okay, so step 1 is completed. And remember, I said you can make 2 to 3 curries with this amount of sauce. I know it looks like a lot, but it isn't. Because once we put it in our curries, to cook with our curry, a lot of this water is going to evaporate out and thicken. So I'd say think of it as half as much as what it will actually be in your curry, maybe even less than half. Okay, with our base ready, and we're just keeping it to one side, lid on so it doesn't form any skin or anything like that. Not that it would, but just to keep it warm, we'll put it to one side. We now need to get our spice mix ready. Now this is the recipe again for you guys who do Indian food very rarely and you just want the entire recipe. Base spices that go into a chicken tikka masala, as well as the other combination of spices that Indians would call like the tandoori masala, for example, which masala basically means a spice mix. So it's a spice mix that they would have made previously and have it in a jar saying tandoori masala. And then chicken tikka masala would have a spoon of that tandoori masala. Now you guys are not going to have jars and jars of all these different masalas, so I'm going to bring it all together for you, and this will be the chicken tikka masala blend, if you will, for this one-off. But if you are going to get more into this, I'm definitely going to have a video of how to make your own tandoori masala, and then that would be a jar in its own right. So for chicken tikka masala, you would need a spoon of mixed powder, half a spoon of paprika, a spoon of tandoori masala, and then that'll be your blend ready. But we're going to do it all together now. Okay, so first thing we want to add is a tablespoon of garlic powder. Now, this is actually going to make probably more than you guys need. But if I was to scale this right down for 2 portions, I'd be talking in fractions. So I'm trying to do it as minimal as possible. So if you have any left over, just put that little bit in a jar for your next chicken tikka masala. So we want a tablespoon of garlic powder. We need half a teaspoon of onion powder. We need 2/3 of a teaspoon of coriander powder. We need the same in cumin, so 2/3 again. Ginger powder. If you guys don't have it, then I would highly recommend you get some ginger powder. You can also use it to make gingerbread men or gingerbread cookies or something. So you want a 1/4 teaspoon of ginger powder. If you've got good measuring spoons, you should have 1/6 and 1/8 as well. So I'm now going to add a 1/6 of nutmeg and a 1/6 of allspice. And we want a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon powder. The only other ingredient we need that I have whole is black mustard seeds. Now if you don't have black mustard seeds, if you're going to be cooking Indian food, this is in a lot of things, especially some of the vegetarian dishes I'm going to be coming up with soon. I love it in my chana masalas. I like it anything with spinach, saag, or lentils, dal. It's a fantastic addition. I would use them whole, but in this recipe we need some ground. So we need just a 1/4 teaspoon of black mustard seeds, and I'm going to use my pestle and mortar to grind a 1/4. Now to get a 1/4 of a teaspoon in powder, you're going to need a little bit more than that in the actual of the actual seeds or what have you. So I've got 2/4 in there to grind up into a powder. Okay, once you've ground in the powder, just get a 1/4 teaspoon's worth and get that into our bowl. So once you've mixed it out, we've got maybe 2 tablespoons as a whole of powder in here now, and that's more than what we're going to need for this recipe, which we're doing, say, for 2 people. But what you would need for 2 people is just 1 tablespoon of this powder. So if you've got any empty jars or anywhere to store the other, for another time that you're going to make chicken tikka masala. So with another bowl, I'm now going to take out what I need, which is a tablespoon of this powder. And this is my extra for another time. Okay, so to finish off our spice blend for a chicken tikka masala, we now need 1 tablespoon of our mixed powder and 1/2 tablespoon of paprika and 1/2 teaspoon of Garam Masala. Now if you want to spice this up just a little bit, now this part is optional. As it is, I would say it's about right for a chicken tikka masala. You can add a little chili powder. I would say 1/8 of a teaspoon. So if you've got 1/4 teaspoons, about half full, again would be within the realms of a restaurant chicken tikka. Now, if you like things a little spicier, add a bit more. But if you go too far with it, then I think you're now going outside the realms of what a chicken tikka masala is, and it just becomes something else. And there we have it. This is our chicken tikka masala spice blend. So once you've made your spice mix, the next thing you need to do is to prepare your meat, whether you're going to be making it with lamb, beef, chicken, or whatever. None of these Indian restaurant foods are cooked with the meats in them. You can do that with red meat actually, and it works really well with red meat. But if you're making chicken, don't do that. Chicken doesn't like it. It doesn't cook very well. It's not that it's not edible, but like I've said many times, previously, it's very different between making something that's actually not edible and making something edible. Almost everybody on the planet makes edible food. We're hungry, we're going to eat it. As long as you're not over salting it or burning it or putting way too much spice than you can handle, pretty much anything that we make we can eat. And if you want to put chicken straight into sauces with tomatoes, you can eat it. Is it good though? I don't think so. For me, I detest chicken that's been sort of boiled and it goes all rubbery, because that's what happens when you cook it in there. So what the Indian restaurants do is they always pre-cook their chicken. They cook it in a tandoor, which is their version of a barbecue, if you will. If you're not going to be skewering and barbecuing chicken, then cook it in the oven, cook it in a frying pan with a little bit of oil or butter. That's also really good for chicken. It cooks it fast, keeps it moist, keeps it tender. Or go and see my video about how to make chicken tikka. which you can apply to lamb and beef or whatever, it's up to you. Because I think that's even better. And obviously in this recipe, you're supposed to use chicken tikka. But in other curries also, where it's just chicken jalfrezi, I would never order a chicken jalfrezi, just white cubes of chicken that have been very plainly cooked. I don't like that. Anything I order in an Indian restaurant is something tikka. It's lamb tikka jalfrezi, or lamb tikka madras, or chicken tikka vindaloo. So in my opinion, always do chicken tikka and do the recipe that I've got. There's a video up that you guys can watch, and you can make it, you can prepare it. I cooked about 3-4 kilos of it. I portion it, it's in the freezer. When I want it, before I cook, I take it out, it just defrosts, and then I'll throw it straight into my food just before it's all gonna come together. So that's what you need to be doing now. If you're doing this as a one-off now, get your chicken, get your lamb, slice it, cube it, cut it, cook it. Whether you want to cook it in the oven or fry the pieces off, whatever you do, cook it now as an individual thing, put it to one side, and then continue to where we are now. So you're going to have what they say in Indian restaurants is called pre-cooked lamb or pre-cooked chicken or whatever it is that you're making. So I already have pre-cooked chicken tikka pieces. This is part of the chicken that I cooked for the video. It was in the freezer. I just take it out, leave it to one side. It's not as red as you expect, but like I say in the video, I don't use food colorings. But if I had used food coloring, this would be bright red now. So this chicken tikka is fully flavored. It's absolutely delicious. It's tender because of the way we've cooked it. And we're just going to put it in just as our sauce is coming together, just as the curry is coming together. So I just keep this to one side ready to use. So you guys do the same, cook your chicken first. The last thing I'm going to mention is the tamarind, which is very important. If you want this to taste right, you're going to need tamarind. Now I've said, get the Maggi one. It's easy to find. All supermarkets here sell it. But if you can, go to an Indian grocery store, Bangladeshi store, get one from a recognized name. This is East End, one of the two big companies here that does Indian spices, so East End and Raja. So this is as authentic as you can get it, and I can tell you I've taste tested between the two. This is better, not by miles. The difference is minor, but it is better. So if you can only get this, this is still good. We're gonna peel and skin. We're gonna put our ginger and garlic into a blender so we can turn it into a ginger garlic paste. We're gonna add a little water, put it in the blender, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so I've peeled the ginger and the garlic. I've put it in my blender bowl. Just a couple of, like maybe a tablespoon and a half of water. I'm now going to blend that to a paste. Okay, as you can see, I've now blended this into a paste. We're ready to go. Now, all the measurements I'm going to be giving you are for what you need to be doing for 2 people. Okay, so we want to get a small pan onto the stove, and we want to get it on a medium heat. We want to add 3 tablespoons of ghee, which is what I'm using. If you don't have any ghee, then I have a video showing you how to make it, so you can make it yourself. You can buy it. But if you're not going to be making Indian food that often, don't bother. Just use the exact same measurement with oil. So do 3 tablespoons of oil. This is a half teaspoon measuring spoon, so I'm going to put 6 of these. 1, 2, 6. I mean, this should be quite warm now, but not super hot yet. And that's when we want to add our garlic and ginger, because we don't want to burn this. So let's throw those in. Mix that around. We're just going to let it cook out the water content that's in those. You should start getting a beautiful garlicky, gingery aroma coming through. Now we can add our spice mix. We can toast those off now. And we don't want those to burn, so we're only going to do it for about a minute or so. Let's just make sure everything gets hydrated and everything looks good. To stop it burning, well, we're getting that toasty smell now. Now we can add the tomato with the water. And we can turn our heat down to medium-low. Just keep mixing all of this in. Sugar, coconut, almond powder. Okay, once it starts getting dry like it's looking like now, we can now add about half a ladle of our prepared foundation sauce and mix that in. You never want to go with too much of this in there because everything will start boiling. We don't want any boiling going on. Mix this in. Once it's started to look a little dry again, another half ladle of our foundation. Mix that in. Again, it's starting to get dry. Now we can add a little more. We'll put like a ladle. Okay, we can now add another ladle. Mix that in. Okay, let's do a taste test. We're testing for salt, pepper, sweetness, you know, just does it need anything? I think it's not sweet enough. I mean, it's sweet enough for my taste, but that coconut flavor is there and that almond flavor is there. But if you need it or want it to be sweeter, just add a little bit more sugar. Now, just, you know, watching this here, and I'm thinking, you know what? I think I'm going to want this to look like how it's supposed to. If it was just for me to eat, I wouldn't add any colouring to this. I only add colouring to foods that need it. Like if I was making a rainbow cheesecake or something, that makes a difference. But for this, it doesn't really. But I want it to look right for you guys, so I'm going to add some food colouring. Okay, once it gets quite dry, and it's starting to spit a lot more at us, now we can add our chicken. Good pinch of the kasuri methi, also known as dried fenugreek leaves. I just, in my palm, crush them, make them as small as I can, and then just dot them around. And then work that in as well. I want to add just a tablespoon of our tamarind, which is a half tablespoon spoon, and mix that in. So we can now, as a finishing touch, always last, because if you cook the lemon juice too long, it just loses its flavour, and we want that lemon juice flavour there. So we can now pour in our lemon juice, mix that in, because now we know the sauce is almost ready. It's getting glossy, it's getting shiny. So one last mix. No, we need to wait now. It's for it to finish cooking. You'll know it's done because the oil, the ghee that we had in there is going to rise to the top and have this shine, this glossy shine to the food. Now you don't want to end this too early. You want to get the consistency just right. See, the oil has all started to come up on the top and it's got a shiny colour. The curry sauce now is quite thick. The last thing that you can add, just as you take it off of the heat, and this is something all the restaurants do, is to mellow it out just a little bit, is to put some cream into the actual curry itself and mix that in. Now I don't do that because I don't want to mellow it out anymore, but just pour 20-30 mils or as much as you feel you need into the curry and mix that in, as well as the little bit of cream that we're going to pour on the top. just to finish off the aesthetic, just to make it, you know, look like it does when it comes in, you know, at the restaurant. Anyway, let's give it a go. Let's see what it tastes like. We've got our beautiful chicken tikka masala here. I think I overdid it with the red colouring, to be fair. It's gone quite burgundy. But I wouldn't add it if I was you, really. It's not necessary. So let me give it a try here. Let's get a little piece of chicken out and some sauce. Wow. I wouldn't be able to tell the difference as to whether I made this or whether it was from a restaurant. To me, it tastes exactly the same. It's sweet. It's got that coconut here. It's got that almond here. It's got a little bit of spice. I'd say that's the only giveaway here. I'd say this is just a touch spicier than what you get from restaurants. But everything else hits every mark. Just try a little bit of the sauce here. Yeah, it's exactly what I expected it to be. So good. You guys should give this a go. Anyway, thank you for watching.